Hey guys, how are you doing? All right, so Abdullah has been asking me if I did a video on how I made the bar to hold my bee sticks together. I had not made one, so I'm going to make one. I know somebody else saw my bar and posted something also, the one they did. There are many ways to do this. I like tinkering in the shop. I know weight is a big difference to some people and not to others, so there are many ways to do this, but I really like to pull out some of the tools I have, like a tap and die set to thread a rod. You could do this rod very easily with, if you went to the store and just got a bolt like this. If you've got 5 bee sticks, you're going to need one that's probably at least 10.5 inches long. I coated the end of this as one of my first ones, and then putting some shrink tube over this, and then all you would need is a knob and you would be done. But I like to tinker, like I said, so I like to take this aluminum rod, cut it down to what I need, use a tap and die set to thread the rod where I need the threading, and then put some shrink tube over it and be done with it, and then put the little knob on it. So I'm going to show you how I made mine out of a piece of aluminum rod. You could also order this rod. You could order threaded rod, but what I found was if you wanted to order this online, you usually have to buy 3 threaded aluminum rods. You don't need all the threading here. And you have to buy 3 feet long, and then you have to have it shipped to you, so it's quite expensive when all I need is a regular rod and all I need to do is thread the little ends. So I'm going to show you how I made this. Shouldn't take too long, but this is how I did it originally with the first one I made. So I'm going to make this video for you, okay? And like I said, no comments about, oh, it's a much easier way to do it. I know there is. Like I said, this right here and one of these, and you could be done. But we'll see what the weight difference is. All right, guys? See you in a few. Let's go do this. I'll show you what I'm going to need. All right. Okay, guys, so what I'm going to need is aluminum 3/8 inch rod. This is referred to as a T-nut. They have T-nuts with little protrusions that go into wood. You do not want one of those. You want one that is flat. It's got little holes for screws. You're going to need a 3/8 inch knob. And this 3/8 inch tap I'm going to use is a 3/8 inch by 16 thread. So how many threads per inch? Some epoxy, and what I use the epoxy for is I just like to put some epoxy on the threads that I'm going to make, and when I screw this in, that way it'll keep this thing from loosening. And then some 3/8 inch shrink tube, the heavy duty stuff. All right, so let me show you how I'm going to do this. We're going to cut the rod first, this aluminum rod, and for 5 sticks you need about 10.25 to 10.5 inches. All right, because this is going to be all the way to the end, so you can basically figure from the end of the bee stick all the way to the top and how much thread you want for this knob to go on. Then I'm going to show you what we're going to do to this knob just to keep it on. I didn't show that in the original video when I showed the rod that I had made. Okay, let's go cut this and start working. Okay, so we're going to start threading this. We're going to put the tap and die set on here, and we're going to just turn slowly. Hopefully my aluminum rod stays in there nice and secure. If not, I'll have to tighten it. Try and keep it as straight as you can. I like to go back and forth. Since I'm going slow, you want to go slow. And when you go back and forth, you see the stuff coming out the end. You really can't see that. We don't want to go too far. Like I said, we don't need threads all the way up, just enough to hold on to the T-nut. If you're having an issue where it's wanting to spin, I just put a pair of channel locks on here. So when it grabs, because those teeth will grab into the aluminum where you don't have any teeth on your vise. I'm sure there's other ways to do it. And you can see the thread right there. this has a thread on it now that this will go on to. That's as far as I really need to go. I'm going to thread the other end. You saw how I did this end. You really don't need to see me do that other end. All right, let me do that real quick. Okay, guys, so we got this end threaded, just enough for the T-bolt to go all the way to the end. And then on this one, I did about 1 inch of the rod. You can see how we have threading on there now. So this knob will go on. As you know, if you have this, you would know that when you're getting the knob, you would have to make sure what thread is on the knob. And thinking 3/16, it comes in 2 thread configurations. But we are good to go here. So we're done here. So what I'm going to do now is just mix a little bit of epoxy to put on the end of this thread. And then I'm going to screw this on. That way it'll keep that from ever coming loose. Somebody had told me, because I used to use little solo cups, to use one of the silicone thread or silicone muffin cups, which is a very easy way because it just pops right out. So we're going to mix some Gorilla Epoxy. Don't need a lot. And then all I'm going to do is take a little bit of epoxy. So we got the epoxy on there, and we're just going to turn this all the way, and you can see it just barely almost goes to the end. And that's all I want. Okay, so while the epoxy's drying, what I'm going to do is on this knob, I'm just going to drill a hole through here, and I'll show you what that's going to be for. And so I just got a hole through there. All right, if you guys haven't used shrink tube before, so here's the end, the T-nut. And I just put the epoxy on there. I put a little epoxy on the end just to level out this edge. I'm going to dip that, but don't really have to. So what I'm going to do now is just take I put the knob in here into the vise, and I'm going to take this shrink tube. You're going to need basically 9 inches of shrink tube to do this. So all you need to do is take this shrink tube, put it over the rod, all the way down to the end. What I'm going to do is just do this portion first. I'm going to screw this into the knob. And now what I'm going to do is use a heat gun. And when you put heat on this, you could use a torch, a lighter, anything you wanted to. It will shrink down and grab onto the rod. Shrunk around the tube. All right, let me put this other piece on. It's basically the same thing. It just goes right to the edge of the threads. You don't really need to see this, but I will just hook this on here and I'll do that and I'll come back. Hey guys, so the rod is done. It's hardened. What I did on here is you could spray with some black spray paint if you wanted to. When you shrink or put the heat gun on that shrink tube, it kind of shrinks up a little bit. You can see there was a gap there. So all I did is put some plastic dip on there. And the only reason for this, you don't even have to put it on there. I was thinking I could put stealth stripping on there if I wanted to, is really just to, deaden the sound when you're pushing it through the B-sticks. You got this right here, which there's really no way that I'm aware of to silence that. I could spray it with some rubber, might kill it a little bit. And when you screw it on, it would basically come off on the parts that are real tight, and it would keep it there on the other parts. But so this is the finished rod. Now if you want to do this, and like I said, you could do this right here with a rod and some shrink tube. This one right here with a bolt, This one's a tad bit short, probably adding a little bit, but this bolt right here with the knob weighs 5.6 ounces. And this little thing with the knob weighs 3.2 ounces. So really not much there. Like somebody says, a lot of people have said each ounce adds up after you keep adding things, but this little thing's 3.2 ounces with the aluminum rod and a T-nut. And that is it. Now what I'm going to do is, if you're going to do this on your B-stick, you're going to have to, I suggest, if you've got them still stripped, is cutting out the second hole below the Versa button. Reason is that's about the middle of the stick. You only need one of these because your little bit, when you tighten that down, the little bit of flex you may get will tighten that up. You're not going to get a lot. I wouldn't tighten it down a lot, but basically the second hole. So one's right here, second hole right there. And now I'm going to put these together and I'll show you how this works, all right? Remember that hole I drilled in the top of the knob right there? I just put a piece of elastic cord through there and I'll show you what that's for, okay? But here we are. Here's 5 sticks, B-sticks. Might not be able to see me, but so if you're going to do this, if you've got stealth stripping on, like I said, you're going to need to do the second one up from the end, okay, or from the Versa button towards the bottom. I love these B-sticks. When you stack them this way, they just stand up. But with that one there, all you have to do is take your rod and send it through. Once you get it through the threads on the very first stick, the shrink tube kind of keeps it centered and you don't really hear it going in at all. And coming all the way out, and then taking this knob and screwing it on right here. And the reason for the elastic cord is once you tighten it like this, you don't really need to put a lot. And once you tighten it down a little bit, and then take this cord and just take it around the Versa button, that way it'll keep it from loosening and rolling around or rattling, and it stays nice and tight. And you look at that, these sticks are not coming apart. I don't care how hard you hit them. There is no rattling sound whatsoever. This is as solid as you can get. Solider than a bungee cord around there. They do not move at all with this bar in there. So Abdullah, there it is. That's how I made mine. Like I said, you can make it a lot easier with one of these, some shrink tube on it. You have to be a little bit longer. This one will work good for a 4-inch or 4 screws. You wouldn't need one of those T-bolts on the end. You cut it right about here. You only got 4 sticks. So my guess is that would be even, probably about 5 ounces. And then a knob on the end and you're good to go. That's another way to do it. So guys, see you later. Have an awesome day. Stay safe out in the woods, and I hope your season is going well. And I love my B-sticks. All right, guys, see you later. Bye-bye.